We have about a month till the end of the season, so I figured that's more than enough time to get prepped for the next one. Heads up everybody, my name is SentinelGray and welcome to the channel. With season 15 coming up on us pretty fast, I wanted to go over some things you might want to do or grab before this season is fully over and we move on to what might be the most dragged out season to date in Destiny. First, let's talk about your power level. The current Pinnacle Cap for this season is 1320, and for next season that goes up to 1330. Now, if you're not 1320 currently, or don't reach there whenever the season ends, then don't worry. Luckily, because all the seasons are only 10 power levels apart from each other, catching up isn't going to be that difficult, and you're not going to be left at a disadvantage when the season kicks off. Doing this is pretty easy though if you want to catch up. All you have to do is complete activities in the game that reward pinnacle gear specifically. Granted, that doesn't mean that the piece you will get to drop for you is actually what you need. It might actually be something you already have at Pinnacle Cap. Even still, it is best to give it a shot just to see if you can get there by the time the season ends. Next is a heads up that Bungie has already covered not only in-game, but also through their updates in the TWAB and everything like that. Bungie weekly update TWAB, in case you guys didn't know. But that is turn in your Vanguard tokens. Next season, they are doing away with the whole current Vanguard system with tokens and everything and replacing it with the system that we currently have for Crucible and Gambit. So because that's happening to all of your Vanguard tokens and everything, they better be turned in by the end of the season or else they turn into dust. They turn into nothing. You're probably not going to get a damn thing for them, so you better turn them in now. And I mean, hell, if you want, I'll make a video of me turning in all my tokens if you guys want to see that, because apparently a lot of people want to see that. That's like a thing that you guys like to watch. It's satisfying or something. I don't know. I don't shame here. Anyway, another thing you'll want to do is gather up materials. So to be fair, you don't have to max out all of your materials or anything before the season starts, because it's not like we should be having that much stuff to spend it on, but it'll still be nice just in case you need it. The easiest way to catch yourself up on materials is to go to Spider in the Tangled Shore and buy the stuff from him. The best conversion rate he has for almost anything and everything is for legendary shards. If any of the materials he sells is for legendary shards, I suggest you stock up on a few hundred of them if you want. This goes towards buying upgrade modules from Banshee, which then goes into infusion of your weapons and armor. Towards the end of the season, you'll also have the chance to farm Nightfall Strikes once all of the Grandmasters become available. This is going to be for all of your enhancement prisms and Ascendant Shard farming. For this season, we have access to the Inverted Spire Strike, which is probably one of the easier Grandmasters in the entire game. So once you're of level to hit that activity, I would suggest farming it pretty heavily. And just as a side note, for those of you who don't know, in your inventory, you can hold at max of 50 enhancement prisms and 10 descendant shards. But in total, all that you can have in the game at max is 200 prisms and 40 shards by letting the excess go to your postmaster. Since your postmaster can also hold a full stack of prisms and shards, you can have a full stack of each in your inventory and a full stack of each in your postmaster on each character. This is what a lot of players do, including myself. I mean, like, we have full stacks of both and everything, and apparently it's not that common of a thing because I got called out one day on stream. I will just casually have a full stack in my postmaster, damn it. As a side note to all that too, you don't have to specifically do Grandmaster Nightfalls. If you aren't of level to do Grandmasters but still want to farm out a few materials, Master Nightfalls aren't as difficult, aren't as limiting, but can be just as, if not in some cases, I have to admit, more rewarding. Finally, the last thing I want to go over is probably going to be the longest to get through: your weapons. I want to hit up the seasonal weapons first, since you probably won't be doing override missions once this season is over, unless you have like a role or two that you still want to go for, or you figure out like, oh, this role is actually really good in this activity or whatever. I mean, you know what I mean. For ignition code, there's a few versions of this you might want. For damaging enemies, you'll want quick launch, spike grenades, slideways, and frenzy or vorpal weapon. Both of them work well. For the blinding version of ignition code, you will want quick launch, blinding nades, slideways, and danger zone. For Chroma Rush, you can have a number of different things, but for me personally, everything I want on this mainly stays the same, except for maybe the final perk. So that's Hammer Forged Rifling, Tactical Mag, Subsistence, and Rampage. If you want this for an ability build though, swap out Rampage for Wellspring and it works just as well. Moving on, we have Grid Skipper. There's only one role I think you should want on this if you're going for PvE, and that is Small Bore, Flared Magwell, Heating Up, and Frenzy. I have a pretty close to the exact role of this myself, and it just slays out. It's ridiculous. Finally, we have Sojourner's Tale. This season, I was looking for a Slug Shoddy to be like an energy version of Heritage, and I found something pretty close. What you'll want is Hammer Forged Rifling, Accurized Rounds, Auto-Loading Holster, and Frenzy. Now, I know we got a sidearm and a machine gun from this season as well, but personally, I find both of them very, very underwhelming, and could think of a few different options to go in their place, so, you know, I won't be touching on them. For Vault of Glass weapons, I've already made a video about them, but basically, if you have anything that has rewind rounds and or Firefly, you're going to be in good hands. However, if you want to potentially be prepared for Grandmasters as soon as they come around, I'm going to tell you to go for a very specific version of Vision of Confluence. You'll want Small Bore, Upended Mag, Rewind Rounds, and Disruption Break. If you've played the story for this season all the way through, you know that next season we'll most likely be facing off against Savathun, the Queen of the Hive, and maybe the Taken. I don't know. I think we're still fuzzy on that. I don't know. She's about Hive and Taken. Just think about that. Regardless, the Grandmasters that are going to be rotated in are usually based around the enemies that we fight during the season. Think about this season. All the Nightfalls have been about Vex, and like one of them about the Elixni. Because there's a high possibility that it's going to be Hive and Taken are, you know, going to be the main focus of the season, we're going to want something for Solar Shields during GMs. And honestly, I can't think of anything better than Vision with that perk combination. Also, in case you haven't farmed one out yet, or you really want a good Master or Grandmaster weapon, go grab a Fatebringer with Explosive Payload and Frenzy. Currently, this thing is amazing in Master Vault of Glass, and it's because of the Overload Rounds plus Explosive Payload combo that it has going on for it. So when Overload Rounds come back in the future, for hand cannon specifically, you'll already have a top tier one for any Overload champ that you face. The last thing you should do for your weapons is to find at least one good one of each type. This sounds weird, I know, I get it, but just hear me out and try and understand what I'm getting at. Find a good scout rifle that works for you and you love using. Find a good hand cannon that you just can't put down. Just find weapons in each type that you love to use if you don't have one already. If you have more than one, then great, but at least try and find one. And hell, if you want to try and find one for like every different archetype and damage type to cover all your bases, then great, go for it. But I am someone who that whenever I go into a new season, I use entirely different things than the previous season. Granted, one or two things may stay the same, but essentially my whole entire loadout has changed. One season I will use nothing but pulse rifles. The next season I'll use hand cannons and sniper rifles. So if you are anything like me, you never know what you're going to be using next season, and who knows? Next season may have some insane weapons that you'll start using day one, kind of like how I used Chroma Rush day one of this season. The final thing I want to tell you isn't really a prep, but it's more of an understanding and trying to get a point across. Take next season slowly. If I'm right, next season is going to be somewhere between 5 and 7 months long at least. And I can almost guarantee that Bungie hasn't planned for that. I mean, no fault to them. I'm pretty sure they expected to have Witch Queen out to us before 2022, but that's not the case anymore. So just take this next season slow because you have so much time to play it. And if you're someone who like currently lives in Destiny, I suggest branching out and finding new games to play whenever you hit the drought of the season, because honestly, we all know it's going to happen. If you want any recommendations from me for the games that I play, I am personally planning on playing Warframe, Final Fantasy XIV, Battlefield 2042, and Halo Infinite. Yes, I know the last two aren't out yet, but they'll be out during the course of the next season. But believe me, I'm going to play all of those, all while taking it easy on Destiny. I'm actually hoping to cover some of those in the future, so if you're looking forward to any of those, please let me know down in the comments below. But that is going to be all for me for today, guys. If you like the video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're interested in my live streams, we can actually have a conversation, you know, instead of, you know, just talking through comments and stuff like that. Please check out my Twitch channel. I will have a link down in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you all next time, and remember, keep your heads up and be kind to each other. Bye now.